Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Gentleman there, will come to you.
This question would be to Hitchens. Tim, at one point in his speech, said that I think that everybody in the room, most people would agree that alcohol is a worse drug, or I presume I take that argument, more dangerous health-wise than cannabis. I think everyone in the room wouldn't agree with that, I certainly don't. And I think that his position seems, probably in this room, would seem a lot stronger if that was allowed to stand. So I'll just ask if you could detail maybe 101 your main concerns, your main reasons for thinking that cannabis poses a serious health risk, such that it should be made legal, and possibly, I think, for the sake of the debate, counter that with the health risks posed by alcohol.
So is that?
I'm not.
You're welcome to defeat.
Well, I don't think I made any. I didn't try to suggest that everyone in the room would agree with me. I don't think. I may have done inadvertently. I certainly didn't intend to. I think I said I think that I don't think you can come up with a dimension along which cannabis is significantly worse than alcohol. That was meant to be my point. That if cannabis ought to be stamped out by harsh penalties, then the same must apply to alcohol too. That was my point.
Do you have anything to say about relative health risks, or if we could beat it?
Well, I don't think it's helpful to try and say which of the two is worse, and what would be the objective scale on which you could say. Speaking personally, I've seen people quite close to me destroyed in various ways by both alcohol and tobacco, which is most distressing, and I would not. This is one of the reasons why I'm so unequivocal about my support for the maximum practical and effective restrictions on their use that are available. And these things can be terrible. I don't think that you can say. I have no idea what scale could be produced, even by the esteemed professor of neuropsychopharmacology, Dr. David Nutt, which could actually tell us in objective terms that one's worse than the other. What I would say, absolutely certain, is that there's no possibility that the existence of two dangerous legal poisons in society could ever be used by a thinking being as an argument for introducing a third. And that just seems to me to be so completely overwhelming that it's the end of the argument. You can discuss, as long as you like, how bad these things are. And I could probably top everybody's horror stories about alcohol without any difficulty at all, but it's not my case this evening. I'm diverted onto this by people who don't actually care about alcohol at all. If I actually turn around and say, well, look, if I thought, and this is true, if I believed for one moment that by doing so I could assist in a general prohibition of alcohol, I'd give it up tonight forever, which I would. Then that's not what they expect or want me to say. The whole point of introducing alcohol into society, and it's always done by the defenders of cannabis, is to muddy the waters and to change the subject. The subject is, do we want another extremely dangerous drug to spread tragedy and misery in our society more widely than it already does? And it seems to be the answer that has to be no.
A quick comment from Tim and then the next question.
Well, I mean, there obviously is a reason why you would introduce another drug. I mean, not that anybody is actually talking about introducing another drug. I'm talking about what we do about drugs, insofar as it's open to us to do very much at all. If the third drug were actually to supersede use of the other two drugs and it were better, that would obviously be a reason. That's a purely theoretical reason. But I'm interested in the moral issue of cannabis being a moral crime, and that is the basis on which it should be punished. That's what you say in your book. That is the issue, that it's inherently immoral to take cannabis, and that's why it should be punished. And I mean, I would certainly agree that the inherent immorality should put an upper limit on how much we can punish people. And if you're talking about locking people up for 2 years for being caught in possession of a small amount of cannabis, I just can't see that as proportionate. And your argument seems to be very, in colloquial terms, utilitarian. That you're interested in whatever it takes to drive out this poison, regardless of what the other ill effects are, and regardless of what the justice of the situation might be or the moral merits. That seems to be the tack you're taking in this debate, anyway.
Can I just untangle a rather naughty knot, which the presenters of cannabis always try to tie? I don't want to send anybody to prison. I've been in prisons. I don't want anybody to go to them. My purpose in having deterrent penalties is to stop people from taking cannabis. And I believe, and I came up with the example of drunken driving, I believe that serious deterrent penalty backed by resolute action will stop people taking cannabis. I don't want
social
to...
pressure.
Hang on, I haven't quite finished. If anybody is stupid enough to break a known law, which is being seriously enforced, then of course they must be punished. Not so much for their own good as for the good of other people who otherwise won't believe the law is being taken seriously, and in that case it has to happen. But no judge of my equivalent sends anyone to prison with a light heart. He does it because he needs to uphold the law. The law, if made seriously deterrent, will save people from disasters which would otherwise overtake them. I don't want to put anybody in prison, and don't portray me as somebody who does, nor imagine for a moment that a seriously deterrent law would have that effect. It would change this.
Very good. Yep. You must, you will be making examples of people in order to deter others. People will go to prison as a result of that. And the people that you're talking about deterring, it'll be people from their age group that will have to go to prison to deter them, and that will go to prison.
Yes,
you are talking about, you can use double effect to sort of say, I don't intend that. You foresee it, you know that would be the effect of this. And I think you don't really want to face that consequence.
Oh, no, I would face it. I don't, it's one of the things about me. I am very distant for any kind of political power, but I don't at all recoil from exercising it. And anybody who's seriously interested in the exercise of kingship knows that in doing so he will have to do some unpleasant things. If you don't want to do that, don't seek power, don't make laws, don't enforce them. Sometimes it is necessary. Sometimes we need to go to war. Sometimes we need to let the police do things which we don't particularly like them to do. Sometimes we have to send people to prison. Not because we love it, but because somebody has to stand between the population and evil. And in the end, it is those who seek kingship, which in a democratic state is those who seek election on a programme, so this is what we're going to do. And if I were in a position to seek election on a programme, that's what I would do. And if I said I was going to do it, I'd do it. I wouldn't like it, you wouldn't like it, nobody would like it, but it would be, ultimately, worth it. And that's the whole point of any kind of political discussion. If you don't want to exercise power, stay away from it.
Okay, thank you. Chap with the microphone, if people want to ask questions, the chap with the microphone, direct your attention more to him than to me. Dan, who's doing a fine job. Thank you. Question?
I'd just like to invite both of us to look at this from a slightly different perspective and just comment on that, which is effectively what's happening here is by decriminalisation of cannabis, you're inviting the individual to act in his own interests rather than the community. Now, when this happens in an economic, when this is applied to economics, the left is outraged, I would say quite rightly so. But the point is, the connection is made between that and the social issues. My point is that when you do that, when you give individuals that moral right to do what they want, despite perhaps the interests of the community or moral issues, what you're doing is effectively, despite the fitness, that's what self-interest is. It's a conflict-based type of society. What you do then is create a system where the strong rise to the top, the weak fall to the bottom. That's the society that fittest is. I invite Mr. Wilkinson to look at, the whole of Britain isn't some swanky area of London. We have very deprived areas. We have working class areas, such as Wilkinson, some of the almost Hitchens columns talking about South Wales, where I'm from.
And you're talking about people who do not have the support in place to be functioning cannabis users or to be functioning alcoholic users. That's not an issue of inequality or anything. That's an issue of the fact that they are weaker for one reason or another. And it's the weakest who get harmed most. I know grandparents who have been robbed because of the addiction of cannabis, who have been robbed from by their grandchildren because they are addicted to cannabis. Putting aside the psychosis issue, the addiction on its own creates issues in these communities which can't simply be dismissed by saying, oh, we are going to run the cafe or the bistro, because people aren't like that.
Well, there are a few issues there. I don't think saying that there's a general freedom of action and that prohibiting cannabis is not justified really feeds into the sort of me, loads of money, Thatcherite attitudes, which are quite, I agree, are quite well embedded. I see someone's holding his face there. As to the other issue, yes, I think that is a problem, and I think cannabis is an effect far more than a cause. I think that there are people who are hopeless. They've got nothing better to do. All the playgrounds have been shut down. They're not likely to get a job. Well, playing fields have been sold off. Social clubs, children's youth clubs have been shut down. There are people in very bad situations, and problematic drug use. As you say, there are people in situations where their drug use is much more likely to cause problems or to take those kind of patterns. And I think something should be done about the conditions which make that happen. And I don't think punishing them for taking the drugs is the way to deal with those issues. Does that make sense?
I'm inclined to agree with the question, though, rather.
Okay, that's easy. Fair enough. Okay. Next question.
Yeah, I think context is important. The issue is that anybody who wants to get cannabis probably can relatively easily. That's despite it being illegal at the moment. What I'm interested in is in terms of data, in terms of presumably we're acting as if there's no punishment for it at the moment, which there is. And what I'm interested in is how the numbers of people in prison related to cannabis offences, how they stand compared to 30 years ago, 40 years ago. My assumption is, despite it being very easy to get and being legal, there are still people going to prison for it. But the next issue is more to do with Peter's solution, which I think one of the inevitable consequences